you're going after the people that don't know any better than to click on an ad and fill out a form. Those aren't your best customers. They certainly aren't the most likely to convert.
It might be somebody that actually works at your company that probably filled that out just to test the form to make sure it worked. You know.
Or your agency making, no, I'm kidding.
So what's it like growing up in and around Milwaukee?
Oh, I love Milwaukee. It's a beautiful city. It's big enough that we've got world-class basketball and art museum and everything like that, but it's small enough that you're constantly running into people you know. We call it Small-Walkie.
Small-Walkie, I heard that. This is the second time I heard that today.
Yeah.
So people from Milwaukee actually call it Small-Walkie.
People from Milwaukee call it Small-Walkie all the time. You'll go to the grocery store, you'll run into somebody that you're doing a work project with, or that you went to high school with, or the other, constantly running into people that you know, unexpectedly.
So, but small, but big enough to run your own business. I mean, you're a marketing strategist,
Absolutely.
expert for B2B and beyond. You've managed to create a business here.
Well, I mean, Milwaukee it's an industrial town. I mean, that's really it's our roots, and so there's a lot of really great manufacturers here, and manufacturers have struggled with marketing over the years. I mean, it's not a cornerstone of where the hottest, sexiest marketing takes place. And so when I launched my last agency about 12 years ago, I looked where do people need the most help?
Sure.
And certainly, at least at the time, manufacturing and a lot of that B2B industrial that makes Milwaukee tick was definitely needed the help. And so that's really where I focused.
Yeah.
Part of it was probably my father is an engineer in industrial automation, and so I spent a lot of time as a kid in his shop and got enamored with that type of business. So
that's cool. And it's funny because we do a lot of B2B marketing work, but I think for me, I was never excited about like selling brown sugar water or like fast fashion. Like, I mean, it's nothing against that. Like, I like, beer and Coca-Cola and stuff like that, retail, but like, I grew up building houses and like, there's something about wanting to, maybe the people that I like being around has got me into that niche and just sort of that world of manufacturing and blue collar work and that sort of a thing. I don't know if that's kind of how it happened for you. Like you said, you're around your dad and.
I mean, a little bit. Like, I've always been someone that needed to understand how things work, how they tick, right? And so one of the beautiful things about B2B is you get into these niches of technology and things you'd never know that you would get to learn about.
Right.
I had a client that was building the chassis for computers on nuclear missiles.
It's not like it's rockets. Oh, wait. It is rocket science.
Yeah, exactly. And you go from that to, the specialty adhesives for, like some kind of weird process to toasters in restaurants and all of the intricacies that can go into that. And you get to learn something new every single day. What other job do you get to do that in?
Yeah, that's true. It feels like going on was it like Reading Rainbow or something like that? Like PBS, watching like these shows where like you go on a little field trip and you go to some sort of like weird manufacturing plant and learn how something super obscure that you never think about. Like the buttons on this material specifically, nothing else, just the buttons get made in this one plant somewhere. It's pretty cool. So obviously, one of the things that we've talked about that you're working on is this new software around AI. I guess before we get into that, sort of, how are you embracing AI? Like, what are you working on as it relates to AI?
Oh wow, that's
a big old huge question.
Topic,
But like, where are you kind of spending your time? I mean, it's a huge thing. Like, you could get lost in AI and the cloud, or the sort of all the talk that goes on there.
Well, there's really two halves of it, right? I mean, the half that most people are talking about is how can I use these tools to do what I'm doing better, smarter, faster, and
doing what I'm already doing.
Superpowers.
Want to do it better.
Exactly. But I think the other end of it is how is the market shifting? How are consumers changing habits, and how can we really lean into that and trying to play that futurist role of trying to figure out where this behavior is going, and that's where I've been spending most of my time. Don't get me wrong, I'm loving the fact that I can go back to what little coding skills I have left and be able to crank stuff out and,
Yeah.
and have a sparring partner for a lot of the, copywriting and other work there. But playing futurist and thinking about where is this going and seeing how consumer behavior is changing and how we need to adapt to it as marketers is really where I'm spending a lot of my time right now.
Yeah. So, and you're building a software right now. Why are you building it?
So the software is Path 3, and it enables business-to-business marketers to be able to do their own advertising self-service. And it's really born out of marketers needing to do more than just Google Ads.
Right.
As I've been talking to folks, as I ran workshops around full funnel marketing, people would come up to me afterwards and ask, well, what tools do I need to use in order to be able to effectively advertise beyond just catching people searching for my product or service? And I'd say, well, there really aren't any good ones for B2B. You really have to dig in and learn how to use meta ads and how to use display ads and everything like that. And so we built this platform to be able to make it so any marketer who understands marketing principles can go in, define their audiences, define their creative, and then hit go, and it'll push that out to all the different platforms, pull the metrics back in, and allow that marketer to be able to use their marketing skills to go and figure out what's working and what's not. And I think this is really important today in the context of AI because we're seeing a shift in going after intent to going after audience. And it used to be that B2B marketers would stand up a booth at a trade show, gather a whole bunch of leads there with intent, people who are ready to buy, go and buy a bunch of keywords on Google, stand up a landing page, and get people in. And the consumer behavior is changing as people are looking for recommendations in private communities, or they are using the ChatGPT or Claude or whatever to do their research there instead of out on the web. And so those intent signals are fading a little bit. And marketers are catching on to that. They're asking, okay, paid search isn't working quite as well as it used to. What do I need to do instead? And the answer is, well, you need to actually go back to fundamentals, go back to branding, go back to really understanding your buyer's journey and marketing to that whole journey and not just the end part where somebody's ready to buy.
So is that when we're talking about realizing that you just can't, like you said, we can't know what everybody's searching for because they're in this sort of AI, LLM, right? And they're kind of figuring stuff out that way. Are we talking about, when we're going back to the fundamentals, we're talking about how to show up within that specific AI search, or are we talking about just, well, we got to zoom out of that because we're not going to get in there anywhere. We've got to just go back and do a mixture of different things that we used to do in the first place.
I think it's both.
Okay.
I think the platform really helps with the zooming out part. If you talk about the shift and where that behavior is going and changing, brands have gotten away with not really staking their or hanging their hat on any particular brand position. They've gotten away with not really having a strong brand presence. Well, I mean, you can put ads out there that simply say we are the technological leader, or we're the most reliable piece of equipment you could possibly ever buy, or our chemicals are more innovative than anybody else. Or you can tell a story and get it out through storytelling. Customer stories are a phenomenal way to do that, and you know that better than anyone, right?
Well, I think there's such a massive demand for social proof, especially with all this AI stuff. I mean, there's all these wonderful things we're able to do with AI. There's also this sort of, there's the dark side of it where we're creating all this noise, even more, what's real and what's not. I think people are starting to want to be able to find the real social proof, the credibility, the trust, and the trust is even more in demand, I think, than ever before. Or it's always going to be there, but it just feels like that being authentic and being able to be the most credible person in the room is what leads to trust. So, yeah, obviously we're finding our clients are getting a lot out of using their customers just to tell the story instead of themselves, because it's just like we've been trained. All right, I'm going to get an Uber. Okay, are they 5 stars or are they 4 stars? I mean, we're trained every day to weigh heavily on social proof.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And then having that brand awareness to be top of mind within your market, I think is the other thing that has been missing. So, not putting all of your resources at the bottom of the funnel,
right.
but actually investing further up than that, so that, broadly, it's funny. One of the things that's unique about business to business over business to consumer is your audiences aren't that big.
Right.
How many people in the United States, how many people in the world can actually either specify or buy what you sell?
Right.
It's not that many people. So you can gather a list of most of them off Zoom Info and target those individuals. You can start to aggregate an audience and build a community around them relatively easily, far easier than you can do in business to consumer, where it costs how much to make your brand easily recallable by any one individual
right.
person. Like, you could have your whole market aware of your brand if you just spent the money, and it's not that much money.
Sure. Yeah, and it's interesting too, because I think as much as all of this technology is enabling all these digital touch points, and so much of the first touch point is digital now. Mm-hmm. But especially in B2B, especially in some of these, in manufacturing, it's not like you said, it's not a huge group of decision makers. Word of mouth is a big deal, and so obviously we're talking all about how to show up in people with using AI, but the brand aspect of this is so important, because what are they saying when you're not in the room? What makes you scared about AI? What's your biggest fear when it relates to what we're doing?
Yeah. So honestly, my biggest fear is noise. It is the sheer number of messages that are able to be created that are now personal. They look like they're made by humans, and so
right.
we have a lot of things that work today because they're hard to do at scale, and those things are ceasing to be hard to do at scale. Your phone is no longer, if it rings, it's no longer probably somebody you want to talk to anymore, because now we've gone from auto dialers to now we have AI dialers, right?
Scam Likely calls me at least 25 times a day. I don't know if he ever calls you, but.
Yeah, and one of these days I'm going to take the call, because I want to know what Scam Likely is and what
he
they're
is
about.
Persistent. I mean, at the very least, I'll give him that.
A lot of time on their hands, I'll tell you that.
No kidding.
Same thing with email. Email boxes have become kind of unusable, and that's only going to get worse as AI overcomes the spam filters, right?
Yeah.
So now we're looking at probably some sort of whitelist scenario down the road, where
or a message in a bottle.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
What's the whitelist scenario though?
So where the only messages that get through are from people that you've already whitelisted as being allowed to call you or email you. Otherwise, it just goes into a black hole, because that's the only way to manage those channels. So us as marketers, we go, well, how do we break through?
Right.
And now email's no longer a channel, and then you're left with, I go knock on their door, or what do I do? You can't call them, right? So this is another reason I think advertising is going to have a bit of a renaissance, because the free channel of email is going to get harder, and sales is having a harder time making phone calls, and so the outbound end of things is going to break badly, especially in B2B. And so that's my biggest fear, is the noise level gets so high as AI is cranking out ad after ad and message after message and email after
Nobody
email.
wants to deal with it. Got to move into a cabin in the woods and
So how do you stand out?
Yeah, that's the trick, right? Brand?
I think brand is part of that answer. Yeah.
Well, what should I, for the hundreds of thousands of people watching this podcast right now, listening, what's the takeaway here in all this, in what you're building with AI? What do you want people to know? What is that kind of thing you're going back to and beating the drum on right now?
The brands that are going to succeed in B2B are the ones that have laid the strong foundations of standing for something, have a unique point of view, have a strong brand, a strong position in the marketplace, and put the effort in to inform their audience of who they are, and do that before they've detected intent.
Right.
If they do it with Path 3, I'll be ecstatic. But if they do it, I think that's the core
Yeah.
thing is don't wait around for the world to finish moving and the tactics that you're using today to fail and fall
Right.
out. You know, seize the day.
Carpe
Go
the
and
diem.
Yep. Go get your brand out there.
Love it. All right. Give me a high five.
El Fango.